I'm the CEO of RJ Reliance. In this series, I'm talking with business owners, operators, HCM leaders, employees, partners, and industry experts about how work is changing. We'll look at people, systems, payroll, HR, time, integrations, operations, and yes, AI, but always from a practical business perspective. The goal is simple: understand what companies should be thinking about as they modernize how work gets done. So today I'm talking with someone who spends a lot of time around companies evaluating HCM, payroll, time, and HR, workforce technology solutions. So the goal today is to really understand what buyers are asking and what they may be missing, and how AI and automation are starting to influence the conversation. So with me on the call today is Dan Reynolds. Hey, Dan, I'm glad you could make the call today. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Dan Reynolds, the Chief Technology Officer at RJ Reliance. We specialize in helping companies with their HCM and WFM solutions, which includes implementing the software that the companies use in these areas, as well as connecting these systems not only to each other, but to other internal systems that so they can effectively run the business on. My particular job is to make sure we have the right teams, tools, and processes in place to ensure that we are successful.
Awesome. Really glad to be having this conversation with you. And given that you are the Chief Technology Officer, I know you know a lot about technology. So from a CTO perspective, what parts of the HCM technology do you pay the closest attention to?
I would say the integration and data layer, how payroll, time, HR, and finance connect. The platforms themselves are pretty mature these days. Where things break down is how the data moves between them. And when that layer is healthy, everything runs smoothly.
Okay. And then, so kind of moving into the HCM technology landscape, how has the HCM technology landscape changed over the last few years? Really, there's a lot of change that's happening even over the last few weeks or a few months, but if you could encapsulate what you're seeing in terms of the HCM technology landscape.
Sure. I think there's been a few big shifts. The platforms have consolidated a bit and have moved fully to the cloud. So the differentiation between the vendors has narrowed. They all do the core things reasonably well now. What's grown is the surrounding ecosystem. APIs are everywhere. More systems are expected to integrate with each other. And now AI is starting to get bolted onto everything.
Awesome. Yeah. And we'll definitely talk a little bit more about AI here in just a few minutes. What would you say clients are asking for most right now in terms of their HCM solution?
I would say the biggest focus I'm seeing is on the integration side. They want all their systems to be able to talk to each other. There's a lot of work done there. Each system influences the other system in some way. And so those just need to be able to seamlessly talk to each other. We're also starting to see more clients asking across the world is, how can I leverage AI to do our job better and with less effort?
Okay. What do you think clients should be asking about but often aren't?
This is going to be a trend in a lot of what we talk about today, I think, but how healthy is our data? Everyone evaluates features. Almost nobody audits the data those features run on. Every report, integration, and AI tool is only as good as the data underneath it. And no vendor can own that for you. The companies that take data accountability seriously before a project starts will have dramatically better outcomes.
Yeah. And that's the same experience that I definitely see as well. So one of the other questions, then moving more into, the systems and the data and further into the integration discussion, one of the things that I see is that companies just generally tend to underestimate the complexity that comes with HCM systems. Usually it's, well, I just got my paycheck, and they don't realize that there's a lot that goes into ensuring that that system is staying in compliance, as well as just generally driving the capabilities that are needed to sustain a business. So where I'm going is, where do companies tend to underestimate the complexity of HCM systems in your viewpoint?
I would say the first one that comes to mind is re-implementing payroll after years on a legacy system. So the complexity isn't the new platform. It's everything that's accumulated in the old one: custom calculations, one-off rules, exceptions configured by people who left the company years ago. You have to rediscover all this, all the rules, decide if it's still needed, and rebuild it. And it's almost always a bigger effort than anyone plans for.
Yeah. And kind of going along a theme of what you've talked a little bit about already in terms of, the importance of data quality and integrations and process ownership, in your mind, and I guess kind of leading you into this, like how important are those facets to the systems, data, and integrations that a company is working with?
And they're extremely important. It's really not that they're just important to the project, they are the project. The software is maybe a third of it. The rest of it is data cleanup, integration design, getting human beings to agree on who owns what process. Projects that struggle almost never because the platform couldn't do a thing. It's because the data going in was bad or nobody owned the process around it.
Okay, excellent. What are so along those lines, what do you think are the biggest technical risks companies should plan for before they implement or they optimize or modernize?
Yeah, really, it's just the flip side of what we just covered. Data quality becomes a migration risk. Integrations never connect as easily as the diagram suggests. There's always challenges, rate limits, authentication that come along with it. And if nobody owns a process, nobody can validate it before go live. But here's the thing, the biggest amplifier on every technical risk is whether or not you have people that have the time to engage in the problem. Bad data and broken assumptions get caught in discovery or UAT, but only if the subject matter experts are fully available for that. And if you skip that, then every technical risk on the list gets worse.
Yeah, the common delimiter, right? In terms of if you don't have people that are able to assess and to look at the data, it's a garbage in, garbage out, I guess is the best way to frame it.
Yeah, for sure.
So moving into AI and automation, and I know that's what most of the listeners probably on this call or this that are listening into uh, think about in artificial intelligence and automation. So how are you as a chief technology officer thinking about AI in relation to HCM and workforce operations?
I see it as a layer that helps people, not one that replaces judgment. Workforce operations are full of decisions with real consequences. You're talking about pay, compliance, scheduling. So AI belongs alongside the people making those calls, surfacing issues faster, cutting busy work, explaining what the system did. But the thinking needs to stay with the humans.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I don't see any change to that anytime soon, despite, all the talk about the doomsday of things changing overnight. Like there's still a lot of value that humans are bringing to the table in terms of their knowledge and experiences and really using AI to improve upon what they're already bringing to the table. Where do you think AI can create real value in this space? Can companies and individuals best leverage AI to create value, especially when it comes to HCM?
Anywhere there's high volume, judgment like work sitting on top of good data. So things like HR and payroll questions. How much PTO do I have? Where's my W-2? Things like that. And then things like anomaly detection in payroll before the run, not after the fact. So you're identifying things up front. And then, of course, things like summarizing or drafting policy documents, job description, case notes, I think are all good examples.
Okay. So along those lines, then are companies at risk of overestimating what AI can do?
Anywhere accuracy is non-negotiable. Payroll being a good example. AI can't run your payroll. It can watch it, it can flag oddities and explain results, but it shouldn't be doing calculations. It maybe someday, but not yet. The other overestimate is thinking AI can fix your bad data or your undefined processes. It doesn't, it just makes seemingly confident answers that are just wrong.
Okay. Yeah. So moving on to advice for business leaders. So other leaders like yourself, if you were advising a CEO, a CFO, a COO, or HR leader before a major HCM technology decision, what would you tell them?
I would say treat the decision as a business transformation that happens to involve software, not strictly a software purchase decision. And that starts with being honest with yourselves about what does the business actually need? Not what did the old system do, not what did I see in the demo, but what do you actually need? And you need to be honest with yourself so you can really define what you're looking for.
Okay. And What questions should leaders ask vendors or consultants before choosing a platform or project path?
I would say, show me a client like us and let me talk to them. What's the most common reason your projects struggle? There's always challenges. What do you most commonly see? And then I think the most important is, what do you need from us for this to be successful? Anything short of a demanding response is going to make me question their ability to deliver.
Good. Kind of moving into some closing perspectives that you have. Really interested to understand, what are you watching most closely in terms of HCM technology?
I'm really interested in where AI is going to go next. It's going to change the game. It's changing the game across multiple industries. I'm really curious to see where it goes in this space. I feel like they're just getting started in the space. We're seeing it all over the place, but I don't think it's where it's going to be. It could take things move quickly, but it could take another year before we see like where they really go with this. But the vendors that get this right are going to have a huge market advantage.
Yeah, I agree. I've literally been at conferences where clearly even some of the biggest vendors are challenged to really be able to communicate where they stand in terms of adoption of AI and incorporating those capabilities into their platform. And I think very quickly companies are going to really need to address that on their roadmap so that well, employees, of course, but their own customers really can make some decisions of whether or not they're heading in the direction that they should be to basically accommodate their customers' needs. So finally, the last two questions I have for you. So the first question, so the audience here, if a listener remembers one thing from this conversation that you and I are having today, what do you think it should be?
I would say that technology is actually rarely the problem. It's about good data, process, and ownership. If you get those things right, almost any modern platform will serve you well. But if you get them wrong, then no platform can save you.
Yep. So my final question. So before a company tries to modernize HCM or introduce AI into workforce operations, what is the first technical or strategic question they should ask?
I would say, do we actually understand our own data and processes well enough to automate them? And if the answer is no, then it's time to start documenting and cleaning data, because that's where it all starts. You got to build that foundation.
Yeah. All right, Dan, thank you so much for the conversation today. This has been incredibly insightful. Really appreciate the opportunity to cover these topics. Looking forward to having more conversations like this with you and others, again, to help our audience in really understanding how they can make decisions around the solutions they're working with, also where AI fits into all of it. So again, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, great.